They're artifacts that are not replaceable. Everything we got in museums is not replaceable. I mean, these people give us stuff, and we try to protect everything as much as we can, but nothing's replaceable because it's pretty unique, most of it. What's the question? Yes, sir.
I heard somewhere that the bullets that were made in Evansville during World War II were used in Vietnam.
The question was, were the bullets made in Evansville also made in Vietnam? Yeah, we made Vietnam bullets. You can look at the bottom of a bullet. It usually says it has 3 initials on it. It had made C for Chrysler, E for Evansville, and S for Sunbeam. And they made it in multiple different places. But we made bullets in the 60s at some at Whirlpool. And made some other things that were pretty treacherous things for that came out of Whirlpool in the Vietnam era. These things that would tear your legs up, you know, spinners.
They made artillery shells
Who?
in Evansville.
Artillery shells, yeah.
Brass.
Brass ones. We made 37s. A 37, you know, a 37's about, like that's 70 or 7 centimeters. So 37 about half that. So guns like that, we made them at over at Faultless Caster, but they were used for some of these sort of cannons, but they wouldn't penetrate the German tanks. So we quit making a lot of those. They hit through the Japanese tanks because they were made very thinly. But we stopped making some of those, but they could use them. The Marines pull them out or ride around. But 37 is a pretty strong bullet. But remember, the cannons on the front of our tanks were 75 millimeters, so it's the width of my finger like that. But we made a lot of those. But then the Tiger tanks, some of the Germans had some at 120, so about that big, you know. And they would blow everything out of water. It's just their tanks were so big, their support people couldn't keep up with them. They get stuck out in front. And then they'd have to blow them up themselves because they didn't want us to find out what they had in there. So, but the Tiger tanks, some of them were very, very big, and they could just rip the heck out of our tanks if they had one shot at it. So we'd have to get a bunch of ours chasing them from behind. Other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Grimm.
You said the advantage of Evansville was at center of the country. Now the Boeing plant in Renton, Washington, which made B-29s on the coast, the roof was flat. They had fake houses, trees, and cars. So from the air, it looked like a residence.
What he just said, what Mr. Grimm says is Boeing was making everything and make the B-29. So the budget for the B-29 was about $2 billion. Okay, we spent a lot of money on the B-29, a lot of money. It had a lot of problems up front with it. It was really flying pretty well by 44, but we had problems with it. That's what dropped the atom bomb. We had a B-29 here called Fifi. There's only 2 left flying. The Enola Gay was what dropped the B-20. It dropped one of the atom bombs. The other one, can't think of the name of it.
Boxcar.
Boxcar was the second one, okay? And he had just about crash land in Okinawa. But what he's saying, where the factories were on the West Coast, we thought the Japanese were going to invade. So the top of the factory there in Seattle,
Renton, yeah,
they made it look like a residential area. My son lives in Santa Monica, California, and there's they made what's called the C-47s there. That's what the U of E kids lost their lives in, a C-47. We made 10,000 of those in World War II. We made them at that plant. And the top of that plant, they had Hollywood come there, and they had women actually up on the top looking like they were doing their laundry. They painted, they had the whole plant looking fake, like they were in Hollywood, you know, and they put all that junk up there. So when the planes would come, you didn't have enough time. You had to look at things pretty quick. You didn't have much time to drop your bomb and run. So they did that, and they painted the whole runway green. You know, made it look like a cornfield. And so and I didn't know they did that at Boeing. They must have done that at Boeing because they were scared they were going to hit our plants that were on the coast. Yes, ma'am.
I heard at Whirlpool when I worked there that papers found later on said that Whirlpool in the Evansville area was number 7 on the red list. Even though we were in the middle, we were far enough number 7 because a lot of came out of here.
There's so many rumors on that, I can't tell what's truth, what isn't. But what I've heard we've been 19, 17, but by population we should be on Hitler's hit list about 250 because we're a small area. But because we were making things, and this, if you ever read Wicker's book, he talks about this lady snuck in. She snuck in. If you read his book, it's called fictional history, but there's a lot of history in it, not all fictional. But she was a German spy. She got off a sub and got to Evansville and hung around and at Dogtown and hung around all this. She could swim better than anybody. and she'd swim across the river and take pictures. And she was the best friend of Eva Braun. That was Hitler's mistress, so that she'd send pictures back over, and he was real concerned about what was going on here. But if they did bomb Newburgh, your dam here, it would mess up. They were making P4, they were making the LSTs up in Pittsburgh. They're making it up there in Jeffersonville. And the dams, if they were exploded, you have they would be too dry, and it'd be a problem. And the Grimm's house would have been shot, if they'd bombed that thing. But they wanted to bomb here because of the LST being made, the bullets and other things. And she was sending these things back to Hitler, and he was worried about our area of being a high producer. But they had on their books that they could fly a plane here and back. But he always messed things up. But they had a way, if they wouldn't have messed things up, of getting all the way here and all the way back. It's a lot of fuel to get back. Other questions?
Parachute factories?
Parachute factories, I'm not an expert on that, but up in Washington, Indiana, was a big parachute factory, started with an R. And we've got, there's a lady up there that's got a parachute. I'm trying to get her to give it to us. I'd like to hang one up in there. But we have one parachute that a lady made her wedding dress out of, because it's silk. And it doesn't even fade, the thing's still white, it's not yellow. Everything else turns yellow. But it's really nice, but parachutes were made in Indiana, some in Washington, Indiana, I think some in Fort Wayne, but in Washington, Indiana. You could probably tell me more about it than I'm telling you.
No, I don't.
We didn't make any parachutes in Evansville that I know, but up in Washington, Indiana, made a lot of them. It starts with an R, and I can't remember the name of the factory. Other questions? Okay, well, we've got a museum out there, and we've got simulators out there, simulators to teach kids how to fly. We got 8 pilots helping, okay, and they're there most of the time, and we're open Thursday through Sunday, 12 to 4. And then we got all kinds of other things that the kids want to do that'd be occupied for a while, but they want to mosey around and learn something too. We have a Veterans Day on 11/11, and my sister's giving you a free breakfast. And we usually have 500 people out there. And don't worry, you can see a lot of that memorabilia. It's free for you. I'd like to have you out there. It starts at 7, goes to 11. It's this Friday or whenever the 11th is, pretty soon. Love to have you there. And love to have you come out there. We got a duck. We haven't got the duck working yet, but when we get the duck working, we're going to flow down the river. And then we got a tank there now. And the tank we got about 6 months ago. We've had the mayor in it. We went around the airport grounds, and I got in trouble because we tore everything up. But he's not mad at me now. But those things are heavy, 67,000 pounds. We were supposed to take it to the West Side Fall Festival. They wouldn't let us take it there. It says too heavy. Well, I mean, what they do in World War II, they drove those things around, but we can't take it to the West Side Fall Festival. So we don't know what we're going to. We want to take it, let people get in it, and drive around. The clutch about break your left leg. And we had some kid about 23 driving that thing in a circle, and he got the hang of it. Man, he was going fast. I said, slow down, slow down. We get about a 1/16 of a mile to a gallon.
Wow.
So we're not making much money on it, but give them rides. And we got to use av gas, so we got to use airplane gas. Oh my God, that's not such a good deal. How about other questions? Yes, sir.
Over on Diamond where the billet factory was, you've got 3 buildings there. One of them's KRS Cleaning, and then the Bumper Auto, and then Tri-State Lighting on the other end. And those were all divided into real small 20-foot sections, and they're all poured concrete in place. And there was one door and one little window. And when the bullets were made, they were shipped out that little small window, much bigger than our home window. And they were made like that, so if there was an accident or sabotage, that it wouldn't wipe out the whole plant. But all 3 buildings were made like that. And then across the street from that was a facility where they refurbished tanks. I'm not sure what all they did with those, but somehow or the other they would bring the tanks back in to repair, refurbish them. But it was all right there off of Diamond Avenue behind Donut Bank there.
Yeah, they had a conveyor belt that was 6 miles long over there. It's a pretty big deal to move and they keep the gunpowder in a separate place so they didn't blow up. And most of the buildings are made so the roof was not much, and the sides so it would explode up and not sideways. Refurbished tanks, 1,600 refurbished tanks. I think about 84,000 tanks made in World War II. Mostly the thing that we have out there, M4, but they refurbished 1,600 of them. So that's a lot. They took them all apart, put them back together because the kids are out there, practicing on them. They'd mess them up, bring them back. And some of them went over to Germany, and they got messed up over there badly. So they we refurbish them. That's not easy to take a tank apart. But these guys are all car daddies. They've been working at Chrysler forever, so they knew how to do that part. Worked on some of the trucks, 4,000 trucks from Dodge trucks they worked on as well. So I just want you to, we're open a lot. We got a lot of good volunteers. If you wear a red shirt, you can come out there and be a volunteer, and we'd love to have you volunteer because your stories are so important. And getting this on to the next generation, because we were the highest per capita production of war products, work for war effort in the world, not just Germany, not just United States, in the world. So 80,000, Ms. Garrett?
Would you repeat that, please?
The largest per capita population working for the war effort in the world. So we had 80,000 people. There were only 120,000, 80,000 people working for the war effort. There's 120,000 people in Evansville, so that's 3/4 of them working where they are. And so that's a high percentage, real high percentage. And I mean, and that's what happened right here. Nobody even knows what happened. The other thing, I looked up all the coal stuff. Coal we really mined a lot of coal in the late teens, early 20s, but then in the 40s, I think we doubled our capacity of production of coal. And Indiana was a big one. Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky mined a lot of coal. And all these factories needed coal to run. You had to run with the factories, and so coal and Bucyrus and companies like that were very important. And Miss Garrett, her family has Melk Electric, so that's right next to Faultless Caster, right next to Chrysler plant, and still the original building over there. It's original, and they've had to redo some things there. And Escalade is a sporting company. They make ping pong tables there. You know, we import 99% of China's stuff. We export Chinese the ping pong tables to China. That's one thing we do. We export that out of the old Chrysler building, and they just bought another 500,000 square feet. So we've gone there and getting the building in the Chrysler building, also Republic Aviation. It's all made of bricks, but they're wooden bricks. And you walk on bricks because I can't stand this wood floor, or this is a concrete floor. A concrete floor hurts you after a while, but the wood floor is very good on standing all day, and also big heavy equipment doesn't tear the wood floor up as much. They're like wood square bricks that are about 12 inches long and 4x4 or so, and they were all over these factories. And we're going to try to reproduce that at the museum we have. So we've got a lot of good people. We got right now about 77 volunteers. We got 19 board members. And we're really wanting to bring history back to this tri-state area. And like just what this museum's doing, if you know about stovepipe, the stovepipes are over here, you've got that somewhere here, the stovepipes over in Henderson. There's the first time that in the Civil War, the rebels got over here on this side of the river, was right here in Newburgh. And because they faked them out with the stovepipes in Henderson, they had them all lined up, and we thought they were all guns, and they were just stovepipes from the furnace. Or whatever. They lined them up over there, and everybody ran here, scared. That was called, I guess, propaganda or faking them out anyway. Okay, well, thank you for attending today, and I'd love to have you out there Thursday through Sunday. And this Friday, we've got a big thing for the veterans. If you're a veteran or got any family member, bring them out. Free breakfast, eggs, and a lot of gravy and a lot of calories. A lot of pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a bottle of wine I'd like for you to come home.